If you look at a Dachshund with those tiny little legs and that very long body, you probably wouldn't immediately think natural swimmer, but apparently nobody told Foxy that. The moment she sees water, she's ready to go in and gets overexcited. Amy, on the other hand, well, Amy prefers a slightly different approach. She likes to watch, preferably from somewhere dry, and likes to shake every time Foxy comes out of the water. So today we're spending some time at a small lake nearby with the girls to answer a question I hear quite often. Do Dachshunds actually like swimming? And as you're about to see, when it comes to Foxy and Amy, the answer is very different depending on which Dachshund you ask. And somewhere along the way, I also managed to throw the ball so far into the lake that neither dog was willing to retrieve it. So guess who ended up having to get it? Yes, me. We'll get to that. This lake is really dog friendly and is relatively small. What I like about coming somewhere dog friendly like this is that the girls can explore at their own pace. There's no pressure to get into the water. They can sniff around, investigate everything, and decide for themselves what they want to do. And Foxy doesn't need much convincing. Give her a ball and some water and she's very happy. Foxy has always loved playing ball. The moment that the ball comes out, her entire focus changes. Nothing else matters. Not Amy, not me, certainly not whatever plans I might have had. That's just Foxy. And the ball. Living in the moment. She has been on a ball playing ban since her IVDD, but when she swims, she's allowed the ball. This makes her really happy as she doesn't understand why I no longer take the ball on walks. When I throw it into the water, in she goes. And watching a Dachshund swim is actually quite funny. You see this long little body moving through the water while 4 very short legs are working furiously underneath. From above, it all looks surprisingly graceful. Underneath, I'm fairly certain there's a lot going on. But Dachshunds can absolutely swim. Like many dogs, most are capable of paddling instinctively when they're in water. That doesn't mean every Dachshund will be a confident swimmer though. And Amy is a perfect example, because while Foxy is happily heading into the lake, Amy has appointed herself lifeguard. She's quite content standing at the edge watching everything that's happening. And I think this is something that's really important when introducing any dog to water. Just because a dog can swim doesn't mean they necessarily want to. I wouldn't force a nervous dog into the water. Let them explore. Let them get their feet wet. Give them time. Some will follow another dog in. Some might be encouraged by a favorite toy. And some will look at you as though you've completely lost your mind. Amy generally falls into that category. She isn't frightened of water. She doesn't see why getting completely wet is necessary when Foxy is perfectly capable of doing it for her. Which, to be fair, is quite sensible. Swimming can be really good exercise for dogs. Water creates resistance, so the muscles are working while the dog moves through it. At the same time, the buoyancy of the water reduces the amount of weight being placed on the back compared with many activities on land. That's one of the reasons controlled water exercise and hydrotherapy are sometimes used in veterinary rehabilitation. But swimming isn't automatically suited for every dog simply because it's low impact. It's still exercise. Dogs can become tired, and when they're swimming, becoming exhausted has much more serious consequences than simply lying down halfway through a walk. That's why I keep swimming sessions sensible and watch the girls closely. You want your dog to come out while they're still enjoying themselves rather than waiting until they're exhausted. And you need to think about the conditions too. Foxy would drop dead before stopping herself. So I really have to cut the sessions once I feel she has had enough. Water temperature matters too. Foxy has gone swimming in glacial water in Switzerland and Austria with snow all around. So you have to make sure the dog is walking afterwards and gets warm quickly. Currents matter. The only time Foxy won't be keen on getting in the water is if the water has too many waves. How easily your dog can get back out also matters. Foxy likes to be in control of standing on her own feet, so she needs a gentle slope or bank. She won't just jump into deep water. This is good as then I know she will always be safe. I am particularly cautious around deep water, boats, strong currents, or anywhere a dog could struggle to reach the bank. For dogs that aren't strong or confident swimmers, a properly fitted dog life vest is a very sensible option. Today, however, Foxy has absolutely no intention of discussing water safety. She wants her ball back. So, ball goes in, Foxy gets it, ball comes back, and repeat, until Amy suddenly decides she would quite like to participate after all. Except Amy hasn't quite understood the game. The idea is supposed to be that I throw the ball, they retrieve it and bring it back. Amy gets the ball and runs away with it onto the grass. Apparently, we've changed sports. This is one of the things I love about having two Dachshunds. They can be raised in the same home, have the same routines, go to the same places, and still have completely different personalities. Foxy sees the lake and thinks, let's swim. Amy sees Foxy retrieve the ball and thinks, thank you, I'll take that, and off she goes. Of course, eventually Amy gives the ball back, which led to what may have been my biggest mistake of the day. I threw it too far this time. Foxy looked at it, Amy looked at it, I looked at it. My mistake was noted by all of us. The ball was now happily floating in the middle of the lake. I tried encouraging Foxy, nothing. Apparently even Foxy has terms and conditions. If the ball exceeds the agreed retrieval distance, the contract is immediately terminated. I waited to see if the current would bring it. No. And at this point, both dogs seemed perfectly happy that it was my turn to get the ball. Their ball was floating away, and somehow this had become my problem. So there was only one thing left to do. I had to go get it myself, which is slightly embarrassing when you spent the day talking about how much your Dachshund loves swimming and you didn't bring a swimming costume. And then you're the one doing the retrieving. At least Foxy supervised. I'm sure that was helpful. And Amy stayed on the grass, obviously. But there is actually something useful in all of this. We sometimes decide what our dogs should enjoy based on their breed. Dachshund should like this, Dachshund should do that, but dogs are individuals. Foxy generally enjoys the water. I don't need to persuade her. The ball goes in and she wants to follow it. Amy enjoys being there too. She explores, she watches, she joins in when she feels like it, and occasionally steals the equipment. But I don't need Amy to become Foxy. If she's happier watching from the edge, that's perfectly fine. I think sometimes the best thing we can do is to give our dogs opportunities and then pay attention to what they're telling us. And there are some signs I'd watch for when a dog is swimming. If they're beginning to struggle to keep their body level, their movements are becoming frantic, they're slowing down considerably, or they're repeatedly trying to get out, the swimming session is over. I'd also make sure there is an easy exit from the water. A steep or slippery bank can make getting out surprisingly difficult for a small dog, particularly one with very short legs. And after swimming, I like to dry the girls properly, particularly their ears and underneath their bodies. Dachshunds aren't exactly blessed with much ground clearance. A wet Dachshund can stay wet for quite a while. Although, judging by Amy's strategy, the easiest way to dry yourself after swimming is apparently not to swim in the first place. By the end of the time at the lake, I think we'd answered our original question. Do Dachshunds actually like swimming? Some absolutely do. Some would rather watch. Foxy would probably have continued going into the water for as long as I kept throwing the ball. Amy had a perfectly enjoyable day without needing to become an Olympic swimmer. And I ended up getting wet because I apparently can't judge how far I can throw a ball. So I'm not entirely sure who was testing who. But that's what I love about days like this. Nothing particularly extraordinary has to happen. We went to a lake, Foxy swam, Amy stole the ball, I had to retrieve it. And somehow those are the days that become some of my favorite memories with them. Because the more time I spend with these two, the more I realize having two Dachshunds doesn't mean having two versions of the same dog. It means having two completely different little personalities sharing your life. And I wouldn't want Amy to be more like Foxy, or Foxy to be more like Amy. Although next time I'm definitely throwing the ball a little closer to shore. I'd love to know what your Dachshund thinks about water. Do they prefer Amy's supervisory approach, or do they avoid water completely? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for spending the day at the lake with Foxy, Amy and me. We'll see you in the next adventure.